What's up y'all, Vincent here. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can take fire pictures of yourself by yourself. I'm going to cover what equipment I use, how I set up my shots, and then I'm going to actually go out and take some shots to show you all how it's done. So just to give some context on how I know what I know, I recognized the need to get better pictures of myself back in 2017 when I started using dating apps. And I didn't want to pester my friends to do it for me because I knew they sucked at it. So I got myself into self-photography. I was using this big old DSLR, a self-timer remote, and a tripod to practice getting shots of myself. And I've since then helped other guys get appealing pictures of themselves to get more matches. But if you're driven and dedicated enough, you can get some solid shots on your own. So let's cover gear real quick, and I promise you, it's not as complicated as you think it is. For the camera, I've actually retired old boy over here in favor of just using my iPhone camera. And I'll tell you why. Most modern smartphones have built-in cameras with functionality that allow you to take high-quality photos without lugging around a big old camera. Most phones past the mid-2010s have 12 megapixels or more on their cameras, which gives you a high level of detail. And they also have apps that give you functionality like auto timer, autofocus, lighting adjustment, and portrait mode. Also, most dating apps are designed and optimized to use photos straight from your phone. So my current phone has been the iPhone 12 Pro Max and has been serving me well for years. Next, I'm going to go over tripods. Since I'm not having another person take photos of me, I need something to hold my phone still while I'm away from it. So I have two different tripods. So this is my standard camera tripod. This is a 55-inch aluminum travel tripod that I got off Amazon. The key features that led me to get this one include the collapsible design, extendable center pole, and ball head. This ball head is really key as I get 360 degrees of angle compared to other tripods that only allow up and down lever positioning. This is the tripod I use to hold my camera for these videos, but I can also use it to hold my phone by adding this tripod phone mount. And for my other tripod, I have this collapsible selfie stick that I use for my phone. So the key features that led me to get this are the supportive base, the non-slip grips at the ends of it, and its collapsibility. This is the tripod that I use for recording gym content as well as quick shots, as I needed something that I could set up quickly but could also stand firmly in place. A lot of other selfie stick tripods that I tried were too flimsy and couldn't hold up to like light pushes or wind, but this one holds up. And it also has a Bluetooth remote right here, but it's been pretty unreliable to use. So I just ended up buying a separate one that has a on-off switch. So that covers the gear that I use. Now let's get into setting up the shot. With every single picture that I take, I try to conceptualize what that shot looks like. So I need to ask myself the following questions. Where and when am I taking the shot? Where's the subject, which is me, going to be? How much of the setting do I want to capture? What are my angles for both the person and the shot? How is the lighting going to be? And what is the subject going to be doing? So for this spot right here, I'm going to be conceptualizing two different shots for you guys. The first is a standard free force body shot. So that means I'm going to be looking for a wide open area and placing the subject right in the middle. And I'm going to try to capture the head to their legs above the knees. So let's set the camera up. Alright, now let's figure out the positioning by taking some practice shots. Since I'm using a rear-facing camera, I won't have any feedback on what to do until after I take some shots. So I'm going to be using the self-timer. If you don't have a remote and you're by yourself, you're probably going to want to set the self-timer to 10 seconds, and you're going to have to run back and forth between each shot. But since I do have a remote, I can set it to 3 seconds. Right? And now I'm just going to take a few shots just to kind of confirm the current positioning of the camera. And I'll get the feedback on when the shot's going to happen by flashing lights. Alright, so now I'm going to evaluate both the lighting and my positioning. So with indoor settings, you won't really have access to natural light. I mean, I do have a skylight up there, but it's pretty late right now. So I have two sets of indoor lights right here. if I use this one, it's too bright. If I don't use any, it'll be too dark. And testing with just this light is good enough light. So position-wise, I'm not large enough as a subject to make a good picture. So we're gonna have to incorporate some movement so I can move both the camera and myself to better position the photo. So right now, I'm way too far away, so I'm gonna try to move the camera closer and myself closer. Let's check again. All right, so the leg part is good, but the upper is still too low. So I'm gonna lower the angle. Okay, so we have the positioning pretty much down, and now we're gonna work on implementing some different facial expressions as well as testing the angles for both my face and my body. So as I take these pictures, I will notice which side is my best side. So instead of just looking straight at the camera, I'm going to do some of my body angles in both directions and do the same for my face. I'm also going to pay attention to where my eyes are looking. Am I looking away from the camera or am I looking directly into the lens? So anytime you see something that's more favorable than others, just stick to it and just take more pictures of with those aspects. Now I'm going to incorporate some portrait mode test pictures. So what portrait mode does is once it gets a subject, it'll focus on that subject and defocus everything else around it. So in this case, if I stand in front of the camera, once the phone notices that I'm in front of it as the subject, it's gonna focus on me and my surroundings will be blurred. Alright, so obviously it's a lot harder than I make it out to be, but you're gonna have to take a bunch of pictures to even remotely find a semblance of a good one. So while in here, there may be a few that are somewhat useful, but obviously the background isn't the best. But this is just for an example. But then again, if the people that you know can't take good pictures of yourself, then this is a good way to supplement a few of them in. So now let's go on to the second photo concept, and that would be a sitting plus prop. Sam Pellegrino. Alright, so the concept for this shot is one that I like to do in bars where it's candid for the person to be sitting at a table or bar with a drink nearby as a prop. So the way we want to position ourselves for this shot is we want to be at the side of the table, or we can do it from here. But we don't want the table to be completely obstructing us. And I'm going to want a closer angle to me as the person and to detract from the focus from the rest of the setting. So I'm going to set the phone up to capture that. And again, we're going to want to take some practice shots to confirm our position. Okay, so the key points in this shot is that I want the glass to be away from my face so it's not obstructing it. So the key tip on each picture, pick a pose and hold it until the shot is finished. That way you're not creating blurring in your shots. Alright, so those are some basic photo taking principles that you can apply when doing your own photos. Now, it is pretty tough to do it with no feedback. I've been taking pictures by just looking at the back of my phone, not knowing how they were going to turn out before I took them. Not only did I have to take a bunch of pictures, but I need to make a bunch of micro adjustments over each one. So Yeah, there are definitely a few good ones in there, but there were a lot more that were taken just for the sake of practice. So now I'm going to show you what it's like when you go outside and go try to take pictures of yourself in places with traffic in them. I'm going to switch my outfit. We're going to wait for the next day when there's daylight, and then I'm going to do some outside pics for y'all. Alright guys, we're back at a spot where I took one of my best portrait shots, and I found this spot a little bit off a ways from the industrial area, and I really like it because it's just this straight road, and it has a pretty neat naturey background, but also the main appeal of this area is that it's very low traffic, which means that there will be some cars that come down this road, but aside from that, I will have a lot of free time and space to set up my camera and tripod and take pictures of myself. So yeah, I'll just show you guys. This looks like they added all of these block things on the side because they were probably homeless people hanging out, but I think this spot should still be somewhat aesthetic. So the setup for here, I'm going to be using my heavy tripod because I want it to be, my camera to be very sturdy. I don't want to deal with maybe a little bit of wind, and plus I'm not going to be using my phone this time. I'm actually going to be using the camera right here, my Sony ZV-1, because I actually noticed that one thing that made self photography really easy for me was having this screen on the side that lets me get visual feedback. So I'm going to set this camera up in the middle of the road, and yeah, we'll get some pictures going. All right, so as you can see, there's cars in this area, so that's traffic that I'm going to be dealing with. So in preparation for this shot, I'm going to try to figure out where to place the camera for the optimal shot that I'm going to take. And I'm also going to have to be prepared to move the tripod. So as I'm doing this, as the cars come, I have to get the tripod off the street and then quickly reset. So to make things quicker, I'm going to be not doing self-timer, but I'm instead going to be looking for video stills. So I'm just going to be recording video instead and then taking snapshots from it. So, all right, let's get ready to go on the middle of the road. Let me go find my shot real quick. All right, once I get the camera set up right, I won't have to touch it again. So now I can start practicing my poses. So I can barely see the screen right now because I'm wearing sunglasses and it's kind of dark, but I'm gonna practice some poses. I'm gonna hold them. That way I can just clip them in the video. Yeah, I'm gonna take these glasses off. All right, so far it's been nice and chill. Maybe only one or two cars pass by. So now let's do some walking poses. So again, as for any action shot that we do, we want to just pick a pose and hold it. That way we won't be causing blurring from movement. Alright, so if I was more serious about trying to get a good picture in this spot, I would be reviewing what I have and trying to see what adjustments to make. But yeah, again, I'm just doing this as an example, so I'm pretty sure there should be a solid frame or two that I can use as pictures. So yeah, that'll do it for here. Now we're just gonna head back home, check out what we got, and then do some post-processing and editing. All right, so we're back at the crib. So let's go over the pictures that we took and look for the best ones. So we're just gonna go through the shots that we took real quick. A lot of them are gonna be like not good. So obviously the test shots, we're not gonna be using the test shots. So okay, it's just here. So as I'm going through these photos, I'm going to be looking at just the overall feel of the picture, and I'm just going to quickly assess, okay, do I look appealing? Do I look good in this photo? Is my posing great? And how does it stack up to like the other ones within the shot? So yeah, right now it's just like my posing and my positioning is all over the place because again, I'm doing it with the self timer and I'm not able to get good feedback. So this one looks kind of decent, but you can see the remote is still in my hand. So just looking at the different types of angles that I've been positioning in, I think me posing from this side is not my best look. So I'm just gonna skip those ones all entirely. And these ones were in portrait mode. So I'm also going to be assessing the focus. So since I'm, just want to make sure that I'm properly aligned as the subject in these portrait mode photos. So yeah, this is why you need to take a bunch of shots because most of them are not going to be good. So it's going to take a lot of trial and error to eventually get a good one to come out. So now we have the sitting shot. Now it's the speed round, so you go through the favorited photos for each shot and then you just pick one. So I'm just gonna go for these real quick and just pick one to go for. So my face is slightly out of focus on this one, a little bit further back from this one. So I'm gonna pick this shot. I'll just take this one. All right, and as for the outdoor shots, I already took the time to go for the video and take some screenshots of like certain keyframes that we could use as photos. So I'm just gonna go for these photos real quick. Now, one thing that I didn't account for was the wind in my hair. So if I actually reviewed the pictures, I would have noticed that, there's like a speck of hair, and obviously I could edit that, but it's not gonna look clean. It's not gonna look as nice as like other pictures. So I'm gonna be preferably looking for cleaner pictures. We want front-facing photos for dating apps, so this could be good for like Instagram or something like that. Okay, so now that we picked the photos that we want, we can get into some editing and post-processing. So we can, because we're using like digital stuff, we can actually enhance our look a little bit to make us look better, but we don't want to be complete catfish. So for instance, I'm gonna take this sitting picture of me and I can make myself look a little bit better. So obviously I don't have complete clear skin, and if you haven't noticed, I have a pimple patch on my nose right now because there's a nasty little pimple on there. So in this photo I'm wearing one, so we're gonna want to edit that out. So I have two apps that I'm gonna be using. So first we're gonna use Beauty Cam. Beauty Cam is the app that I'm gonna use to just create better looking skin. We're not gonna fix all the blemishes, but because it's free to use, we're just gonna use like the non-VIP functions and just kind of do some retouching. So we're gonna go to beautify, and then in retouch, we're gonna go to smooth, and all right, so we're gonna go, if you look at 0, you can see there's a good amount of like roughness on my face, but the default goes up to like 80. So we move it up to 80, we move it all the way. All right, my skin is basically gonna be completely clear, but we don't need to go that far, so just go to 80. There, looks really good now, right? But we still have the pimple patch in there a little bit. So we're just using Beauty app to smooth up the skin. And then the next editing tool that I use is called Snapseed. So this is my favorite photo editing app on my iPhone. So now we're going to open up this photo. So again, we want to take care of the pimple patch first. So we're going to go to Tools, Healing. So you can do this through Photoshop, but this app has it on, Affinity. So we're just going to do that. So, oh fuck. And zoom in on the pimple patch. Oops. Now if we pull it back, it'll look like I never had some type of blemish on my nose. So now the other part of editing that I'm going to do in Snapseed is I'm going to add some detail to it. So this setting called structure, it'll make the lines come out more. So if I just throw this all the way up, right, it'll make me look detailed, but adding too much structure, it adds too much detail, and now it looks like way too photorealistic, kind of like AI stuff. So if we just go back down to 0, right, I'm just gonna try to look for a range where I'll add a good amount, but not too much. So maybe just just 15. Okay. And then we'll add some sharpening to it too. So again, that'll make the details come out. If we do 100% sharpening, it'll be really, really sharp. And so we'll just want to do less than that. Just slide up and down, try to add the details. Okay. All right, we'll just do 25. And then last thing we can do is we can do some lighting tuning. So if you take your pictures with good lighting, you're not going to need to do too much here. So like I said earlier, when you're setting up your lighting, if you do it really well, you don't have to do too much post-processing, but it can always help to maybe tune it up a little bit. So we're just gonna go through the sliders and just check each setting. So brightness, all right, I already like the default brightness, so I'm not gonna touch that. Contrast, so contrast will make it'll make the shadows come out. It'll make the colors and the darks either show more or less. So if I add too much contrast, I'm going to be too bright. If I take away a lot of contrast, everything's going to be too light. So I might just end up adding just a little bit. Just 10. Nice numbers, 11, whatever. Okay, saturation, this adds more color, it takes away color. Now I'm just add a little bit so I can look a little yellower, a little golden. Ambience makes things brighter or less, bright. It's gonna add more color to the background, so I'm gonna leave this at 0. Highlights, I'm gonna leave that at 0. Then shadows, I'm also gonna leave that at 0. Warp adds more reddish, orangish color. We're not gonna do that. And then there's the very bottom. Oh, okay. Usually is a cool. So that's it for this picture, and that's all we're gonna do of every single picture that we do. So because we took this from our phone, we can just export it as such, and it'll stay the same resolution, and just keep all the edits. So we can just save us a copy. Cool. Now we have a better version of the original photo that we can just drop straight into the apps. And it's also best practice to also export it or crop it as a square. So if I go to crop, right, if I go to square, do it here. All right, so for the ones that we took from the ZV1 right here, we're definitely gonna want to make sure that we crop it.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook! I said let him cook!
Alright, and that covers my entire workflow of taking pictures of myself by myself for dating apps. Getting into self-photography has been very rewarding for me, as it's allowed me to build a lot of comfort being in front of a camera. And it's also allowed me to practice my posing, my expressions, see how I look in different types of outfits, go to check out different cool places, but most importantly, it's made me more courageous in testing out crazy concepts for pictures. Like I said from the start, if you're driven and dedicated enough, you can get some solid shots of yourself. But if you watch my workflow, you can see that this is not as easy as you think it is. Like, yes, you can save a lot of time and money not paying someone else to do it for you, but there's a lot of hassle involved. You have to do a lot of work setting up your equipment and spend a lot of time gradually getting shots and then calibrating what you're doing in each shot, so then you can figure out the best pose to do. Because unless you're extremely prepared and you know exactly what to do, then you're gonna probably need like hundreds of shots before you get one good one. And your ability to get different pictures of yourselves with different concepts is going to be largely dependent on how comfortable you are with being extra in public. Like taking pictures of yourself at home, there's not really much risk. But once you start going outside into public, into places with traffic, things are going to be a lot more hectic because people and things are going to get in your way. And if you don't have a high level of shamelessness, you're not going to get good pictures of yourself by yourself out in public. So even with all this practice that I've done taking pictures of myself, I've still only been comfortable going to places with little to no traffic. And even if the pictures come out decently well, I know in the back of my mind that they could have been 100 times better if someone else did them for me. So at best, I've used anywhere from 1 to 3 photos taken by myself, and then the rest were taken by other people. The best transition from doing all this self-photography is to take everything that you've learned and done doing photos of yourself and try to coach someone else to do it for you and probably with you. And the most important thing I have to say about getting pictures of yourself for dating apps is that if you're gonna spend the time doing it, then you might as well get the best pictures possible. Like if you actually went out and tried to take pictures of yourself, but you wouldn't be able to get a full set of high quality photos, then you might as well just save that time and get someone else to do it for you. And if you haven't noticed already, I'm someone that can. As someone who has been on the apps for years and has actually spent plenty of time trying to get better pictures of himself, I know what makes a good dating app picture. And more importantly, I know how to take them. I've taken everything that I've learned in my self-photography journey and applied it to other guys by getting them amazing pictures of themselves and got them amazing results from that. Like if you want to get past a lot of the BS from online dating, this is the number one thing you need to do to bypass like all of it. High quality pictures will get you way higher quality and quantity of matches, and then it'll be easy to convert them from there. So if you're on the West Coast and you want to get those high quality pictures that will get you high quality dates, then book a consultation call with me and we'll see how we can set things up. And that's all for now. If you're still here, I appreciate you as always, and you should like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think in the comments and join the Basecamp Discord for discussions on self-improvement topics. And don't forget to book a call if you're interested in coaching. That's all. Stay based and take care. Bye-bye.